Hey there, fellow travelers. Welcome to the Tolkien Road, episode 293.
293.
293. Greta, you ready to get geographic?
Oh man, you know me. I love my geography.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Not.
Geography is your middle name.
It's true.
Yeah. Yes.
Not.
Good one. All right. Good report. Not.
It's actually the opposite of my middle name.
Yes. What will be the opposite of geography?
And geography.
On geography. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, this banter is going nowhere.
Yes,
all right.
Clearly.
In this episode, we'll be discussing chapter 14 of the Silmarillion of Beleriand and Its Realms. Before we get started, we'd like to give a double up air five to our patrons. 3, get them up there. 2, you've been warned. 1, whoopsh, boom.
That was a good one.
Special thanks to this episode's executive producers, John R., Kaitlyn of Tea with Tolkien, Jacob Lockham, and our newest executive producer, John H. John, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We really appreciate your incredibly generous support and for believing in us enough to become an executive producer.
Indeed.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Become a patron by visiting patreon.com/Tolkien Road. Doing so gets you cool perks like 20% off of everything at truemisspress.com. And plus your financial support helps the Tolkien Road to keep on evering on. Learn more at patreon.com/Tolkien Road. Hey, YouTube, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and let us know what's on your mind in the comments below. All right. So we're going to talk about the map of Belerion in this episode. And so the quote of the week is actually not from the Silmarillion, but it has to do with maps. It is from letter 144 to Naomi Mitchison, in which Tolkien says, "I am sorry about the geography. It must have been dreadfully difficult without a map or maps." And he's, of course, referring there not to the Silmarillion, not to Belerion, but he's referring to Lord of the Rings, because Naomi Mitchison was a proofreader for Lord of the Rings. And he was apologizing to her for the, I guess, difficult time that it must have been not to have a map, because when you're proofreading it, the final map came afterwards. And I suppose she was proofreading this without really maps to go off of. Can you imagine reading Lord of the Rings without the map there?
I've read it many times without a map.
Well, okay, the map. Okay, yeah, I guess you don't care as much about the map. I just know that like the map helped me so big time, and I think it helps a lot of readers.
I'm sure it does. Sure it does. It's just not something that I hone in on.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's fair enough.
I mean, I'll sometimes, like, if I'm reading about a real place, I'll like Google it just so I can see pictures of it and picture it in my brain. But yeah, this doesn't really matter to me. I'm like, oh, they went west. That's awesome.
Oh, a map. That's nice.
Yeah. I'm like, boring. Moving on.
Boring. All right. So anyway, Tolkien recognized the importance of maps.
Obviously.
I recognize the importance of maps. That's good enough for me. As long as he and I are on the same wavelength, that's all I really care about. So
yeah. And I think that's fine. I think that's totally fine. And I think it's really nice that he apologized to Naomi.
Yes.
Because as a proofreader, especially, I think that would have been incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
Because you're reading it with a fine-tooth comb, right? I mean, your job is to find mistakes. So, yeah, I understand. And it was nice that he recognized the trial that he had put her through.
Yes. Well, he was a thoughtful and caring
person.
Very
considerate. Very considerate.
All right, well, let's dive into chapter 14.
Let's do it.
So chapter 14 is the Beleriand geography chapter. It's dry, but as we'll see, it's also helpful in understanding everything that comes after. In chapter 14, we'll learn of Belarion's regions, rulers, and key geographical features. As with each episode, we won't be covering every detail of this chapter, but instead doing our best to hit the high points and unpack interesting and important details. If we missed something you guys want to discuss, let us know in the comments below or shoot us correspondence wherever you can find us. So really, and I think I might end up doing this for the remainder of our Silmarillion episodes, but we are going to do a screen share here because there are 3 different maps that I would like to use, and I think they will all be very helpful for explaining this rather than just reading the quotes. So one of these is simply a screenshot I took on my iPad of the of the map that's in the middle of the Silmarillion, right? And this is similar to the map that's in the front or back of the Silmarillion. I can never remember. But this one actually lists the names of the regions and the names of the rulers of those regions on it. And so I find this particularly helpful for this chapter. We're also going to reference this map, which is from the Atlas of Middle-earth. And this one, so, and remember, there's a link to the Atlas of Middle-earth, which you should definitely go buy. It is a very useful tool. And this one is great because it's a little more detailed, and it also shows these northern regions, which, you know, we have Angband, Thangorodrim, you know, we get a sense of everything that lies to the north, basically the realm of Morgoth up here.
I like this map.
Yeah,
this is a map I could spend time looking at. This
map's got a little more artistic flair to it. And then the third one is this really cool website, the Lord of the Rings project.com, LOTRproject.com is what it is. And this has both a map of Beleriand and a map of Middle Earth of the Third Age. So basically the two maps that you know are most important to the Legends of Middle Earth. So this one is cool because you can kind of interact with it, and you can look at different, like, you know, paths that different characters took, right? So this one is currently showing Tuor to Gondolin, but you can also look at Turin's journeys and Baron's journeys as well. I'm going to turn that off right now because we're not really interested. Those are kind of to come. The journeys we'll learn about later on in the story. But these three maps, I think, will help us get our bearings when it comes to everything that's going on in this chapter.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. So yeah, let's just start out. So it starts off and it talks about what's going on really here in the north. Okay. So, and it speaks of being north really of Ardgallen, right? Well, it talks a little, and actually it refers to these things that aren't seen on that map, that it's actually in the book. The Iron Mountains, first of all, right? So basically, when Morgoth first started doing his evil deeds, really kind of way before this time period, right? And this even goes back to when he was in Valinor imprisoned, he built these mountains called the Iron Mountains that sort of encircled the northern part of the world where he had his realm. And that was to protect himself from Autumno, or protect Autumno, his main fortress that was in the very northern regions and kind of the center north of the world. It's actually off of this map. But then you have Angband here, and this Angband he set up to be kind of a first line of defense against Valinor, right, against the forces of Valinor. Now, Autumno was destroyed in the early battle, right, with between the forces of Valinor and Morgoth. But Angband wasn't completely destroyed, and so when Morgoth comes back from Valinor, you know, remember he comes into this, you know, from the northwest up here because he's crossing over. He comes with Ungoliant, and he enters back into Angband and takes up his throne there, and that's where he really makes his new his new throne, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So that's the first region we learn about here, and these three mountains right here are Thangorodrim, right? These are the three mountains. Remember, we learned last chapter that Medros was hung by one hand from one of these mountains, and of course Fingon had to save him by cutting off one of his hands in order to keep him from just that horrible kind of forever fate of just hanging from these mountains. I suppose Medros would have been hanging there forever because he was immortal, right? So you know, I mean, I guess at some point maybe he could have died from that, from just like the extreme exhaustion of it. But you know, it would have been a pretty horrible way to die. Absolutely. Very slow, very, very slow death. So that's what we have here. And if you so just to triangulate between these different maps. So right here, you can see the words Ardgallen, right? And this is Dorthonian. Okay. We go over here to this map that's kind of more or less an official map from the Silmarillion. And we have Ardgallen here and Dorthonian. So right up here in this region would have been where Angband and Thangorodrim were, right? Okay, so that's just to get your bearings. You can see this, the Anfaglith up here, again Dorthonian right here, where it says Tarnu Fuin.
Are these just different like languages or
different words that have that talk about different specific things, right?
Okay.
In some cases, different languages are used. But like you'll notice that like Ardgallen shows up here.
Right, but the other name does not.
But this is called Ardgallen and then Anfauglith here.
Gotcha.
So we have
okay.
Ardgallen, which means green region, and then the Anfauglith, which means land of gasping dust, right? And I believe it's explained in the text. I won't go too far in. I won't really get into what it says there, but I believe it's explained that it's Anfauglith originally, but then there does begin to grow some green in that region, and so it becomes later known as Ardgallen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because of a river or something that was there. I think that's why there was green. Is that right?
I believe so. I didn't take great notes on that particular part. Okay. But I think that it does speak of that. Angband, of course, means hells of iron, right? And it's just interesting to kind of think about like, Angband as being hell on earth, right? It's, just this region of dark dungeon, like just vast dungeons, basically, right? Vast underground dungeons. Terribleness. So vast that the forces of Valinor didn't really take their time to uproot it all, because it was probably just like, I don't know how we're going to get all of this uprooted. So, so there you go. That is the north. That's Angband. And the next region we learn about is this region over here of Hithlum, right, to the west.
Which we heard about that in the last chapter, because that's where Thingol told the Noldor that they could live, right?
That's correct.
Yes.
Yeah, he was basically saying like, look, you can go, first of all, you don't have leave to dwell in Doriath, right? Which is his region here. And they kind of laughed at him, and they're like you have any say over these other regions, right? Because Thingol was like, well, I'm the king of Beleriand. And they're like, wait a minute, you don't really seem to have much presence as far as your forces, to declare yourself king of these other regions, right? So there was kind of this tension right there. But yes, we have Hithlum right here, and dwelling in Hithlum is Fingolfin, who of course now is the High King of the Noldor, right? Because Finwë died, of course. Finwë was slain by Morgoth, and then Fëanor was slain by Gothmog the Balrog when Fëanor went looking for Morgoth, and so the High Kingship of the Noldor passed to Methros. But when Fingon saved Methros' life, Methros is is an act of gratitude, basically said, hey, I want the line of the High Kingship to pass to the line of Fingolfin, right? So Fingolfin is now the High King of the Noldor. So his region is over here in Hithlum. And then we have Fingon, who is his son, over here dwells and rules this region of Dor-Lomin, right? So, and this region is bounded on the west by Ered Lomin, and on the east by Ered Wethrin. And then down here to the northwest, or to the southwest of Hithlum, is the region of Nevrast. And this is where Turgon lives. Now, Turgon is, I believe, one of the sons. I always got to double check it, but believe one of the sons of Finarfin. And Turgon will go on to be one of the founders. Will go on to be the founder of. Hold on, let me double check. Turgon is the second son of Fingolfin. Turgon initially dwells in Vinyamar, right? And he goes on to, inspired by Olmo, goes on to find this region that's kind of hidden here in these mountains, and will eventually create the city of Gondolin, right, from that. So that's Nevrast right here. So from Nevrast.
So wait, is he, when he's still in Nevrast at this point in time?
Yes.
Okay. So he has not yet created Gondolin.
Right.
Okay. But it's on here as like a future thing.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, we have Turgon here dwelling, creating his realm of in Nevrast with Vinyamar. And next we learn about Dorthonion. We kind of come back over here and we learn about this region that's kind of nestled right south of Ardgallen, where, which is just south of Angband. And it's this region in between these mountains right here. And really, there's not a whole lot of like space for a lot of people in here. It looks open on this map, but really it's kind of a large region of, mountains and hills and everything. So, there's not a lot of just flat land, like wide open spaces for people to dwell in.
It's a lot of forest too.
Yeah. A lot of forest as well. So, but this is the region that's where Angrad and Agnor have their abodes, and they are, I believe they are both sons of Finarfin. Let's double check that. Yes, sons of Finarfin right here.
And it doesn't seem like a good place to live. It's a little too close to Angband for my taste.
It is a little close to Angband, but it's kind of like with the siege of Angband, it's like somebody's got to live there.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody's got to be the first line of defense, right?
Yes.
And maybe they kind of viewed it as, okay, maybe it'll be a temporary arrangement until others come along and want to do this, and at some point you'll get to move into having other realms. But maybe they wanted to be the first line of defense.
Maybe they drew the short stick.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, right.
Or the long straw. What is it? Short straw?
Long. Well, the short stick would be the bad deal.
The bad deal. Short straw. So yeah, short stick. Yeah.
Dorthonion is kind of, though, where I think they use this as kind of a primary reference, because it's this, to where everything else is in the text, because it's kind of center line of the rest of the realm of Beleriand. One thing to note, technically Beleriand is just the regions that are kind of to the south here, right? Technically this is Beleriand, even though we really refer to the whole thing, really this whole region that's to the west of the Blue Mountains, we refer to this as Beleriand. Technically it's just these southern lands kind of below this center line, below Nevros, below Dorthonion over here. But that's just kind of a technicality. All right, so there's two really important rivers that you need to be kind of familiar with here. The first is the river Sirion, right, which flows down the west side of this vast land, right, from north to south. Okay, you can see how it flows on this map. You can see it go all the way down to, let me see here. Well, let me go to this map. It goes all the way down here to, I can't read that. Hold on. To the mouths of Sirion. Well, that should be self-explanatory. I thought it said something else.
I could have read
right
that. I didn't realize what you were trying to read. Sorry.
Yeah, you got the glasses.
I know.
Maybe I need glasses. I don't know. All right. Yeah, so it says the mouths of Sirion. And then another river we'll come back to in a few minutes is this river Galeon over here. Okay, so this one also flows north to south. And these are kind of the two big dividing lines of this whole region. Sirion divides west and east Beleriand, right? So everything to the west of Sirion is West Beleriand, and everything to the east is East Beleriand. This region of West Beleriand is almost entirely the realm of Finrod, who is the ruler of Nargothrond, right? So you'll recall, we referred to Gondolin earlier. You'll recall from the last chapter, Torgon and Finrod kind of they were good friends, and they went close to the sea, and they both had these separate dreams inspired by Ulmo. Both had were kind of inspired that they needed to create these like kind of secret realms, that would be safe places from coming peril, if you will. Yeah. And so Torgon is inspired eventually to create Gondolin. Finrod is inspired much more soon to create Nargothrond, right? And so this becomes his realm, almost entirely West Beleriand, except for this region all the way to the west on the coast here that is ruled by Círdan, who of course we know from the Third Age. He is the ruler. He is the governor of the Grey Havens, and his region is called Falas, right here, Falas. And but the rest of this realm is really ruled by Finrod, right, who is one of the sons of Finarfin. And
it seems that Nargothrond seems to get its name from the river Nargog.
Narog, yeah.
Narog.
Related at least to, it's on the river Narog there. And you can see it over here. This again, this map gives a lot more detail of various geographical features. Let me see if I can zoom in there a little bit for you. So you see it right here, River Narog, and we have the Forest of the Hunters right here. Of course, some of these things we'll learn more about in later chapters, and they'll become important in later chapters. But yeah, so that is the river Narog right there, which of course feeds into the river Sirion right before it hits the sea down here. Okay, next we're going to go back up to Dorthonion, and we're going to look at the Ered Gorgoroth, right, which are the Mountains of Terror, right? That is the realm of Ungoliant's offspring. Okay, so this is the realm where it actually says Ungoliant passed away, right, in this region, and but she gave birth to many offspring. This is where all the giant spiders of the world came from, and many of them inhabit this region, right? And they'll come into the story of Beren and Luthien. Kind of get a feel for just this mountainous region up here. Another look at it right here.
That makes Dorthonion an even worse place to live.
Well, yeah, on the south side.
Yeah, you got Ungoliant's offspring.
It's like, it can't be too bad. You just like right over the mountains here, you've got Doriath, right? Where it's like Melion's got her magic at work, and it's like, well, she's got her girdle going because she knows up here you got the Mountains of Terror, right? So, there's really not an easy way to get there. One thing, I'm going to make sure I don't skip over this. One region to mention is this region of the Pass of Sirion right here. There's actually a fortress built here that is named Minas Tirith, right?
Oh yeah.
And it is the first Minas Tirith, right? The Minas Tirith of the Lord of the Rings is, one might suppose named in tribute of this Minas Tirith. And it's supposed to guard this pass here of the river Sirion, because you'll notice that it's like, okay, you've got the Dorthonion, you've got all these mountains kind of right center line here. You've got Angband up here. Well, really the only way to get into West Belerion, if you're up here in Angband, is to go through this pass. And so you put a guard tower there, and it's going to make it that much harder for these forces to get down here. And Orodreth is the one who kind of inhabits and is in charge of this region, right? Who rules this region. Now, Orodreth is a confusing character, because he's called the brother of Finrod in this in the text here. But in later revisions, Tolkien actually started to make him a son of Angrod, right? So Finrod would have been his uncle. And there's this whole long story about like, what's the deal with Orodreth? At one point, he was a much more important character in the legends. He became a less important character. But when Christopher finally decided to publish the Silmarillion, he didn't have his father to go to kind of give a final word. So he had to kind of make a judgment call on different writings from his father. And he decided in the text to make Orodreth a brother of Finrod, a son of Finarfin, and just kind of leave it at that and not say much more about Orodreth other than that. But in later writings, as we learn in the history of Middle-earth, it's a little more confusing, and he makes him the son of Angrod, so he would have been a grandson of Finarfin. So maybe we'll cover that in more detail at some point, but just something to note right there. All right. So let's come back to Doriath. All right, we spoke about Doriath. Here it is on the official map, Thingol and Melion's region. It is a forested region that is really made safe by the girdle of Melion, by Melion's magic, right? You can see it here on the Atlas of Middle-earth map. And we see it here on the Lord of the Rings project map right there. One thing to note, and this will come in to play in the story of Turin, is this Amon Ruth, right, which is a kind of lonely mountain over here. And again, that will come up when we get to if you've ever seen that cover. There's a there's kind of an image that's been used as a cover. That's a fairly iconic image. It's been used as a cover of Unfinished Tales, and Amon Ruth is the mountain that's shown on it. Let me see if I can find the cover I'm talking about here. Here we go. There we go. This image right here. Right. This is Amon Ruth, and it's I believe that's the name is, it refers to the red dome, right? The Ruth refers to the red dome. So Amon would be mountain, and I think the red that refers to the red dome of the mountain.
And that's not part of Doriath, right? It's just to the west.
It's just to the west of Doriath. Yeah. Okay. So then we have Androm. So this is a feature that's not actually shown on this map, but it is this long wall right down here. So it extends from basically Nargothrond all the way over to almost to the river Galeon over here in the south. But basically it's this like kind of big drop off in the land as you get further south in Beleriand. And it's kind of like this, just like almost like long cliff that separates. So the land above to the north of Androm is much higher, and the land to the south is much lower, right? So it just forms this kind of long wall for, a pretty vast stretch of land.
This is a natural wall, right?
Yeah, it's a natural wall.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, and then we go over here to the, let's see. Oh, the forest between the rivers. So we have this giant forest down here called the Tar Im Duinath. And it's essentially just a huge forested region that's uninhabited, right? Except for some dark elves is what it says, right? So not a whole lot going on, not a whole lot of action down here, at least that we know of. But, we have that region down there inhabited by various dark elves.
And that's between the river Galeon and Sirion?
Yeah, it's just way far south in East Beleriand.
Gotcha.
Yeah. All right. And then we have this region over here, the river, the region of the river Galeon. And in the kind of southern part of this region, we have the six rivers, right? So we have the river Adurant, Duilin, Brilthor, Legolin, Thaulos, and Askar. And I suppose, so that's six rivers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I think the seventh river simply refers to the river Galeon, which runs through there.
Where's the number 7?
The land of 7 rivers.
Right I thought it was the land of 6 rivers.
Well, here it's the 7. Here it's the 7 rivers, and I think it refers to the river Galeon.
That makes
right
sense. Here.
Okay. Notice this little island right here in the middle of the river Adurant, and this is Tolgalin. And in later years, we'll find out why, but this will be referred to as Dor Firni Guinar, which is the land of the dead that live.
I know why.
Yes. Yeah. So this is, Galeon again, this river that, in this region of Sirion is the Green Elves inhabit this region in large number.
I think we can say why it's called that because it mentions it in the chapter.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's where Beren and Luthien end up dwelling after they return.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. After when Beren comes back to life.
Right, and Beren. Yep. So it's very aptly named.
Yes, it's not a land of zombies. No. It's actually much nicer than that. Yeah, and then last we have this this region east of Dorthonion, right up here with Lothlin, which is just kind of this wide open, empty land, and we have the March of Methros. So really, this region over here to the east of Dorthonion and of Doriath, this is largely inhabited by and ruled by the sons of Fëanor, right? Of which there are 7. So we come over here and we look at the map and we have Methros right here, right? So Methros kind of, again, you think of Angband being up here. Well, we're guarding this pass over here, Ordreth guarding this pass over here. and Medros and the Sons of Fëanor are guarding this pass or over here. And, so these are the only two places for, for Morgoth really and his forces to break through unless they go way far around in different ways. Right.
Gotcha. Is the March of Methros, is that a place? Or that was on the other map, or is that a
I think it's just referred to as the March of Medros. I'm not sure why they use the term march.
Yeah, I was wondering if it had another meaning.
Yeah. Anyway, and then we see here we have Maglor, right? Who's another son of Fëanor. We have Celegorm and Curufin here, so that's 4 of them. We have Amrod and Amras right here, and then we have Caranthir right here. And so Caranthir rules this region in kind of the north east of Galeon region, which is Thar Galeon.
And is Himring a mountain, or is that a home?
Himring.
Let's
see here. Where do we see
right
Himring?
There. Himring.
Oh, right here.
Yeah. On the other map, it looks like it's naming a mountain. I feel like I remember reading about it. I just couldn't remember. It looks like it's a location.
Yeah, looks like it's potentially a city in there. I didn't jot that down in my notes. Let's see here. Just do a quick search.
Curious.
Himring was a hill in the northeast of Belerion. It was east of the pass of Aglon and west of Maglor's Gap.
Oh, so it's
the greatest hill of that region. It was wide-shouldered, treeless, with a flattened summit and surrounded by numerous lesser hills.
Okay.
After the drowning of Beleriand at the end of the First Age, the peak of Himring remained above the waves. So that's why when we go to certain other maps, go to the map of Middle Earth right here. Yeah, I'm sorry. Map of Middle Earth. That's Himring right there.
I see.
Yeah, this little island right here.
Okay.
And so we have that. But you notice from this map, just to point this out, a bit of Beleriand still exists in the Third Age, right? And these regions that are west of the Blue Mountains right here. All right. So, not all of what we know as Beleriand is completely gone. There is a little bit left on these far western regions and the Third Age. And, that would be the same as the Second Age as well. So, that's kind of a run through this chapter. I think, again, I feel like you can read all the text there, and certainly if you have questions, jot them down in the comments. But I feel like using these maps is a much better way of approaching this chapter than, trying to kind of sort through these quotes. Seeing these things, obviously, like seeing a picture of these things, I think it's much easier to make sense of them than it is, by reading the words of them necessarily. So
take it from someone who's not really a map person. These are very helpful.
Yeah, for sure.
Makes a whole lot more sense.
All right. Well, I think that's all I got to say for this chapter. We will have links to all these maps here available to you in the show notes. So please check those out. Ready? Want to do haiku?
Yeah.
All right.
I guess so. Here we go.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Boom.
You win.
You go first.
All right. Haven of heroes, vast land of legend and lore, lost realm of Ose.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
That's very good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Does that refer to all of Belerion? The lost land of Ose?
So I kind of picked that up when I was looking for the meaning of Belerion, and it's named for this Balar right here. Down here we have this Bay of Balar.
Okay.
But apparently that refers to Balar in some way refers to Ose.
Oh.
So that's where I got that from.
Very cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Very nice. All right, here's mine. Hills, rivers, and meres described in minute detail. Very Tolkien-esque.
That's your way of being nice about it. Very Tolkien-esque.
Well, it's true. It is very Tolkien-esque. Yes. I mean, as only he can. He described all these places. I mean, I could kind of picture them in my brain. which is nice. It just, it was a lot of detail.
Nice.
So I meant it as a compliment to Tolkien.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Good.
Yeah.
Well, let's check out Redhawk. He gave us 2 haiku for this chapter.
Okay.
First haiku. Geography is, without a story, boring. Both an adventure.
Ah, nice.
I like that.
It's true.
I'm the kind of person that when I look at certain maps, I can kind of like, I'm just fascinated by the maps themselves and of thinking about the potential stories that happen within those maps. Like all the, like, I look at a map, just a real world, and I'm like, wow, what's all the stuff that's happened in that place?
Yeah.
Like, this place I'll never go in my life, but like, what's all this stuff? You just look at it's crazy. Like how many, like you just look at a map and like how many towns there are, like just in our state alone.
Oh,
the state we live in.
I know.
And just like all of the lives, all of the people, all the stories that have happened in that place,
Yeah.
Anyway, that's
cool
why maps are cool to me, right?
Yeah.
That's why I really enjoy them.
Yeah. No, I think it's awesome. I really do.
All right.
And I understand.
Yeah.
Just not my cup of tea.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. You read the second one from Redhawk?
Sure. Can't have no background, no back, no support, no ground. You'd just be falling.
Nice.
Very nice.
Double negative. Can't have no background. So that means must have background. No back, no support, no ground. You'd just be falling.
You just be falling.
I like it. I like it.
Very clever.
Very clever.
Yes. Well done, Redhawk.
Very clever. Let me do a quick check here. Make sure I didn't miss any haiku.
I would be pretty impressed if we had any more haiku. I mean, it's not an easy chapter to do haiku for.
No, it is not. No, it is not. I think that got it all. All right. Well, if we missed any, please drop them in the comments below. And sorry for missing it. All right. Well, Greta.
All right, Johnny.
I think that about wraps this episode.
I think it's a wrap. Yes.
Hey, don't forget to give us a shout out over on iTunes by subscribing, rating, and reviewing us, or whatever platform you listen to us on. 5-star reviews. Those are the ones that help us out. And hey, hit us up in the correspondence, however you can find us. Always love hearing from everybody. We will figure out that next live stream here shortly. Promise. And I think that's about all we got.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Let's close it up.
Why you gotta be so pushy about it?
I'm just, trying to keep the ball moving. That's all.
All right. Thank you to our amazing patrons, especially the following: John R,
Kaitlyn of Tea with Tolkien,
Jacob Lockham,
John H,
Ms. Anonymous,
Andrew T,
Redhawk,
Shannon S,
Brian O,
Emilio P,
Zeke F,
James A,
James L,
Chris L,
Chuck F,
Asya V,
Ish of the Hammer,
Teresa C,
David of Pints with Jack,
Jonathan D,
Eric S,
Eric B,
Johanna T,
Mike M,
Robert H,
Paul D,
Julia,
Warty,
Matthew W,
Joe Bagelman,
Chris K,
Jacob S,
Don J.
Thanks,
as
guys.
well as those celebrating their Patreon anniversary this month in May of 2022. Malcolm C.
Ms. Anonymous.
Thank you all so much.
Yes, thank you guys.
Thanks to all of our patrons, and thanks to you all for listening.
Absolutely. Thank you.
We will talk at you next time.
Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.